Alright. Hello, Mrs. Swartz.
Hi.
First question is, what do you think is the hardest thing about IB and why?
I think with any academic programme, the hardest thing to possibly achieve is a sense of balance in terms of meeting academic requirements, but at the same time finding time to rest, relax and engaging in other pursuits. And I feel that if you over-focus in one particular area, it can be detrimental. So that balance is important.
Yeah, I agree with that. Is there anything that you find the students need to focus on when they're going into the IB?
I think a realisation of that you are becoming more responsible for your learning, and therefore you need to be self-motivated. A lot of what you'll learn is done outside of the lesson, so the teacher will only teach so much and the rest you have to find for yourself in collaboration with the teacher. So I think you have to be very self-motivated.
Explain the TOK and its importance.
Okay, well, I've never taught TOK. What I understand is that it's central to the IB. It brings together all the subjects that you learn, that you study. It's to do with the theory of knowledge, how we know, what is truth. It's about inviting students to become their own thinkers, not just to accept what people tell you. And it's basically about knowledge. How do we know what we know? And about formulating our own truth. And
what about its importance in the IB?
Because IB wants to develop critical thinkers. They just don't want students regurgitating material. They want them to actually focus on analysing and giving a critique of knowledge.
Okay. Now explain the extended essay and its importance in the IB.
Okay. The extended essay is, from what I believe, is a self-directed piece of research. It culminates in a 4,000-word essay on a topic of your choice, focusing on one of your subjects. Its importance in IB, I would actually say it prepares you more for university where most of your work is self-directed.
Okay. Is there anything that you would improve about the transition stage into IB?
Well, one area I'd definitely improve on, and that we're working on at the moment in the counselling department, is for students to get to know themselves better, their strengths, their weaknesses, their areas of interests, so that when they choose their IB subjects, they choose what they're best at or what they think they need for a future career. So I feel that we need to give students more time to explore options and make their subject choices. And the school is so big now that it's very difficult to change subject once you're in grade 11 if you realise you've made the wrong choice. And if you get to the end of the IB diploma when you're applying to universities and you suddenly realise you've taken a subject or you haven't taken a subject at the right level, it might limit your choice in future career or university.
What are the things that you want the grade 10 students to understand the most about the IB and its hardships?
I think it's definitely a step up from NYP, and the focus is very different. I think that NYP is more holistic, whereas the focus in IB is about what you know and what you can do. Hopefully you've chosen the right subjects, you've chosen the subjects you're good at and you're motivated to learn in, but I do believe there's a big step up between NYP and IB diploma.
Do you think that all the information given to students about the IB so far has been correct? Or is it all just is it really as hard as everyone says it is?
I think the information is given in good faith. We don't want, it's creating that balance of not telling you it's easy, but leading you, giving you a full sense of security, but at the same time not telling you it's so hard, we might worry you and put you off. So I think when staff talk about IB, I think they do it in good faith. And IB is not for everybody, and you need a balanced view for you to make a decision whether it's for you or not.
And last question, if you were if you were to give only one word of advice to the grade 10 students before they enter IB, what would it be?
It would be you, so Y-O-U, simply because at the end of the day, it's not about your parents, it's not about your teachers, it's not about your friends. The only person's name at the top of your IB diploma certificate is yours, so it has to be about you and how much you really want to do well.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank
you. Well, Ms. McGinley.
Right.
My first question for you is, what do you think is the hardest thing about IB and why?
I think the hardest thing about it is that you have to do 6 subjects, and it's probably one of the few college preparation courses where you still have to do 6 subjects. So you've got a lot to do. So the hardest possible thing is managing your time, because you've got a lot to do at the same time. Okay, that's the biggest one.
Is there anything that you find the students need to focus on when going into the IB?
I think it's super important that you know how you learn best, because, as I said to the last question, time management is typically the thing that diploma students find the hardest. So if you know yourself as a learner, it makes your life a lot easier during the diploma program.
Okay. Explain the TOK and its importance within the IB.
TOK, or theory of knowledge, is really carrying on from the areas of interaction that you looked at in grade 11, and it's all about why and how I learn. And it's also not just to question how you learn, but also to question what you're learning and its significance and its importance, and it treats you to it demands that you see things in a critical way. So you're not just sponges, you actually analyse and critique the information you've been given, and more importantly, so you can put what you're learning in context and see actually the point of what you're learning. And that's what I mean, is it's sort of is like your areas of interaction. Okay, so you can actually see if you're learning X in math, the purpose of learning X is to do with buildings and society, or to do with, symmetry for some reason. So that's what.
Now explain the extended essay and its importance within that.
Okay, just as the personal project in the middle years program is integral because it makes you put everything together, that's a little bit what the extended essay is. It's a research project in which the student chooses an area to study, but then really it's theirs. So they've got typically 18 months to come up with a hypothesis and actually research. Now the importance of that is manyfold, but the most important thing is, one, it gives a student a chance to really explore something in depth in a subject of their choice, and two, universities and colleges really like the fact that you know how to organise a research essay. And just like in your personal project, the end product was important but not vital. That's a little bit what the extended essay is like. 2/3 of the marks are just for knowing how to set out and how to go about writing a research essay.
Is there anything that you would improve about the transition stage from the IB into the MIB into the IB?
I think we'll get in there, but I know Mr. Schwabro and I work very hard together to try and advise you guys before you get into the diploma program to make sure you're doing the right subjects and that you're really choosing the right levels, because I think sometimes that comes as a bit of a shock. The diploma has what we call a syllabus. It tells me everything you need to know to get a 7 in higher bio, for example. And that doesn't exist in the middle years program. So we need to make sure that people are aware of that before they decide that the diploma program is a good program for them.
What are the things that you want the grade 10 students to understand the most about the IB and its hardships?
I think you have to accept that you have chosen to really do, in my opinion, the best but also the most difficult college or university, what would you call it, preparation program that exists. So in a way it's its own worst enemy. Okay, it prepares you really well, and typically our students come back from the first year at uni saying, oh, people don't know how to write an essay. This is like, you know, it prepares you, but I'd be a liar if I said it's not. It's hard work, and it's not for everybody. It's not everybody's best route to university. That's the bottom line.
Do you think that all of the information given to students about the IB so far has been correct? Like, is it really as hard as everyone says it is?
Well, I probably use the word hard, but I think hard's the wrong word. If the key for me is managing your time. Mm-hmm. If you're a good time manager, if you know yourself as a learner, then you'll be really successful in the diploma program. The people who find it the hardest are the people who typically find it very difficult to organise their time for long-term projects. Mm-hmm. And I think for me that's the greatest challenge, but that's also when you go to college or university why your life is a lot easier. Yeah. Because the professor will say 2 months, that's your deadline. Okay, so you guys go into it knowing how that is. You mustn't ever lose sight of the fact that if you're doing diploma, it's because you want to get into college or university. You want to go further, okay? And that's the difference. High school diploma doesn't necessarily lead you directly into university. You can choose. But this is you're saying, yes, I want to study further education. So we need to prepare you for that.
And my last question is that if you were to give only one word of advice to the grade 10 students as they enter the IB, what would it be?
Sleep. Okay, you need to make sure that you are in a position that you've got yourself sufficiently organised so that you sleep properly and that you eat properly. Okay, if you do those two things, you're going to be successful. Okay, Red Bull is an enemy, not a friend. Okay?
Alright, well thank you very much.
My pleasure.